13th episode of the Empire and Exile podcast. I'm your host, Dorf, joined each and every week by Josh. Good night, Josh.
Awesome, man. How are you?
Good. Got some technical upgrade, new background here. Gonna also be trying out some new features as I learned more how to play around with OBS, and some other video editing, editing stuff. So, anywho, here we are.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah, new things on the show tonight. We're gonna roll out even features next time. I just got them a little bit ago. Grew frustrated. I'm not working properly for this before we went live here. So I said screw it, and we didn't end up prepping that for this show. So, anywho, without further ado, let's get right into the show. Come on. Trying to do a scene. There we go. Scene change. Look, our background changed again. What's on tap tonight? We're going to go over the Losers and Suckers article, the reported quote from Donald Trump, as reported by The Atlantic, which there's now, I believe, 21 people who were on the trip who are on the record saying, yeah, fake news. Yet The Atlantic isn't backing down on it. Facebook, particularly Mark Zuckerberg, is teaching people to, in an attempt to have everybody not panic, is going to have everybody panic over election integrity, and he feels like it's his job and his company's job to educate the masses out of that. And because Orange Man bad, we won't use an effective COVID treatment. There's some data coming out of Panama, specifically related to hydroxychloroquine use, and direct results direct results of that usage and no longer usage, and then return to usage of the drug, and overall deaths in the country. So now at this point it's just correlative numbers. I'm not going to lie. The causation research and even more we'll go into that. But anywho, first order of business tonight, The Atlantic. Definitely not a conservative publication. Has a
certainly not a publication I used to enjoy, by the way, back in the day.
I've never been a reader, but
I actually had a subscription for a while, and it was a liberal paper then, or a liberal rag then, but this was before a time when you could accept that some things were liberal but still reported well, and some things were conservative but still reported well. But
sure,
we don't live in those times anymore.
Yeah, no, and so to set the scene here, so Donald Trump was in France in 2018 for an event commemorating, I believe, the D-Day invasions, or just the war in the liberation of France in general.
No, it was World War I, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a World War I event. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, World War I. Yeah, it was the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. Donald Trump was scheduled to appear at a military cemetery for the Allied war dead, and had his visit scrubbed at the last minute. The paper trail shows that yes, it was for exactly the reason they said. The weather would not permit the leader of the free world to take a risky helicopter trip because of low visibility, and the Secret Service, without any sort of prep or route containment, wasn't going to drive him 90 miles either to go to this trip, because you know what, the last thing you want to do, especially when you're the Secret Service, is put the president at risk, unnecessarily. And General John Kelly, I believe at that point, was just the chief of staff. I don't know. He held a couple roles before leaving the administration.
By the way, Dorf, this is this is the historian in me chiming in, but it just popped into my head when you said that, because I hadn't really thought about this. But how ironic would it be if Donald Trump were to take an alternate route for this World War One, celebration, if you will. That's how World War One started. Was Archduke Ferdinand taking an alternate route and becoming assassinated on the way to this celebration?
He became dead.
Right. So the idea that they would say, yikes, let's not do that. Not crazy.
Well, I mean, at the same time, I haven't done this work myself, but I saw this on social media. It's like, go ahead and do this Google Street View of from where they were to where they had to go. That's like 90 miles of climbing up mountains with really narrow roads and no guardrails. There's no fucking, with plenty of ambush plays, there's no fucking way the Secret Service is making that driving the president there. And at the same time, there's no absolute way in hell in a thick, dense fog the Secret Service would allow a Marine One to fly into dense fog when there's no reason to, when you don't have to. So he had somebody else go in his place, that being General John Kelly. I mean, but at the same time, the Atlantic doubts the official line and has four cowards unwilling to go on the record with their names. Who reportedly heard the president say, "Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers." In a separate conversation on the same trip, this is quoting the Atlantic, Trump referred to more than 1,800 Marines who lost their lives in Belleau Wood for getting killed. Here's the thing. There's now 21 people on record saying the story's bullshit. John Bolton, who isn't exactly the biggest fan of or the Tangerine Mussolini, also is separately when he published his tell-all book here a couple months ago, it's the same incident with the same recollection of events as the president and everybody who's backing his side. The Atlantic refuses to either name their people, the people named in this or unnamed story haven't come out publicly themselves, and they refuse to go on the record or retract the story. But it's not necessarily that the smear of the president's going to get smeared by his political opponents and in unfriendly media all the time. It's the fact that the story is 2 years old. Happened to just over 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was released timely, I'm sure, at the beck and call of the Biden campaign, when they were having multiple unfriendly news cycles in a row and they needed something to shift the attention. It's killing me that why this is the Atlantic, supposedly an independent. I mean, this isn't atypical. I mean, CNN does this shit all the time, and you'll see that there was a 3 a.m. memo put out by somebody at the DNC, and everybody in the DNC friendly media will use the same talking points to write think pieces and articles and editorials the next morning, all echoing the same point. This isn't new, but that the idea that there is such thing as objective journalism, and at the same time, the same shit happens on fucking Fox all day. For the Republicans. The idea that this doesn't happen on both sides of the aisle, the Republicans don't get something to Fox through back channels so you see it on they're not straight news program, their opinion program. I mean, Sean Hannity is the biggest RNC talking point regurgitator, and to that point, it makes him unlisten. You can't listen to his radio program. You can't watch it if you're conservative. Quite frankly, it drives me up a wall. I can't listen to his TV show or watch his TV show or listen to his radio program because it's just like he got the memo, he got the talking points memo, stapled it to whatever his computer screen in front of him. I'm not even giving him enough credit that he's got it displayed on his computer screen. He staples it to it, and just sits there and fills airtime by reading the bullet points off repeatedly.
I do this frequently, Dorf. I fact check this frequently,
Yeah.
and it cracks me up. I actually do it I'll turn on Hugh Hewitt in the morning on the way to work. I'll turn on Sean Hannity on the way home from work for about 3 minutes, which is about all I can handle of Sean Hannity. And I'll, throw on something on television, and it's hilarious. Like they literally all woke up that morning and had the same thought.
No, they did.
Like
The producer got
of course they did.
Their producer got a memo. That's what it is.
Right, and it's scary, honestly. It's scary to think.
It's not state media, because at least there's like two sides to the equation here. But at the same time,
That's the illusion.
Yeah, right. It might as well be. There's just dueling state media. And then you have the I would call it the outside of the mainstream, like the Webernet folks, like ourselves. I'm not calling myself media. We run a podcast that I'm under no illusions that is not well listened to.
Right.
That call bullshit on both sides of this issue here. And why do you think that, for all the grief Donald Trump has taken about, handling the coronavirus issue, only the one group they've done polling. There's been public polling on this. The one group of people that has trusted less about the issue is the fucking mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody trusts those fuckers. Yet people still keep watching them and don't get, it's dying amount of people that keep watching them. It's boomers, man. Josh, I know you're a Gen Xer and I'm a millennial here. We gotta get to them boomers to stop watching the shit.
Last in most things I see, I'm actually the first year of millennials. Just saying. That's. I identify more with Gen Xers, but I'm supposedly the first year of millennials.
You might be a veteran millennial. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think I am. Yeah, I believe that's the one. What year do you see as that?
I thought it was 8.
I'm not trying to.
I think it was like 8.
I've seen 1980.
80 to 95.
Yeah, I was born in 80. So.
Okay. Hi, veteran millennial.
Yeah. I'm like,
your mid-tier millennial friend here says hello.
So I expect the other millennials to refer to me as like general or something. I don't know.
I prefer Supreme Commander.
Grandmaster Jedi. I don't know.
Jedi Master. There we go.
So I wasn't trying to derail the show with generational speak.
But either way, the mainstream media. I quite frankly, I haven't done the academic deep dive into this to be like, oh, this has been going on ever since like Dan Rather and such, told this one fib, and no, quite frankly, I don't know that, it's the reason that we as a culture pretend to hold journalists in such high esteem, or we did at some point, is they were the ones writing the propaganda to make themselves look good, and they've always been this shitty.
Right.
I'm honestly asking. Quite frankly, I'm leaning towards it. Now, journalism may have been more pure than it is now back in the day. But then, you look at the era of, sensationalist yellow journalism,
mm-hmm.
God.
What, Dorf? I have your answer.
Has it ever been good? Go ahead.
I do. I actually have your answer. And the answer is, as a lover of history and a seeker of truth, it's important to me and interesting to me to find out when this switch happened, when this media, when this form of media took over our minds, basically, when the PSYOP began, if you will, if you want to use the more modern term, when the PSYOP began. But truth be told, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. We know it's like that now. We've identified it. Time to stop listening. Whether we should have stopped listening 7 years ago, 25 years ago, 75 years ago, or 400 years ago is a cute thing for historians to try to figure out. Legitimate historians, if there's any actually out there anymore. But it matters not. We've pinpointed it. Time to figure it out. This is like you're driving down the road and your transmission blows. And you say to yourself, if I just would have looked at this sooner, maybe I could have just replaced the clutch. I don't know. Maybe I could have just replaced something else. But you didn't. You know what the problem is now. Time to fix it. Time to move on. Time to say, this isn't real. I'm going to start not paying attention to what they have to say and seek the truth in my own way. And it's tough to do. It's hard to seek the truth. Can you trust the internet? No, not really.
Not really.
Can you trust cable news? Absolutely not. And before, the conservatives and liberals start freaking out, yes, of course, I mean CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and Fox Business and OLN or, whoever else. I mean all of them. Can you trust the local news? Oh, God, I hope you're smart enough to never trust that. But, can you trust the newspapers? No. Can you trust the magazines? No. Who can you trust? I don't know who you can trust.
You can't.
You got to seek it, though.
You got to seek it. And quite frankly, there are independent organizations that attempt to do that legwork for you. And quite frankly, one of them I could think of is an organization called NewsGuard. Right. It's the best we have. Just please, for the love of God, don't use Snopes.
No, yeah, please.
Because anytime you this is the prime example of conservative is right, but there's a left-wing criticism to it, so it's misleading or mostly false.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we can't let the Cheeto Hitler win, so we're gonna say he was mean, and therefore it's somewhat misleading.
Well, I've seen Snopes articles saying that something is misleading or false when it was an opinion.
Yeah, and that's
are we not to hold opinions anymore?
Well, it's not even
in this world.
Can we not hold opinions anymore? It's the I think, quite honestly, if he stopped this binary talking points agenda here, I'm not talking the media. I'm talking general people just on the cesspool that is Twitter. Like the liberal side or the left has opinion X on subject 1 and conservatives have opinion Y on subject 1. They both can have kernels of truth. They're not probably both correct or entirely incorrect. So partial credit for both, there are some issues that you're never going to be able to bridge that gap between the two, and that's fine. But at the same time, that's you see I would be a conservative except I like science. It's like, well, do you even know what that means? Because quite frankly, I'm just specifically in this COVID-19 crisis, people generally speaking on the conservative side of the argument, and what little retrospection when you've been able to do so far, they've been right.
Yeah. No, Dorf, by definition, bias has some truth to it. Hell, by definition,
propaganda may have some truth to it. It's
sure.
It's only true if you can ignore points X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm. By saying something is biased, it's not saying it's a lie. Even as you put it, by saying something is propaganda is not necessarily a full lie, although it's not above, including lies.
Full lie propaganda, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if it's a full lie, we have a name for that thing. It's called lying. Yeah, I mean, that's just lying. You don't need words like propaganda or bias if you're just simply going to lie. So to say that a bias is false, well, it's not necessarily. Otherwise, call it a lie, because that would, if it's a lie, call it a lie.
Mm-hmm.
By all means, we need to know when we're being lied to.
Okay.
And then when we're being lied to, we need to do something about it. That's step 2.
So, all right, I want to move on to the next story here. Anything else you want to say about the Atlantic and their, manipulation of media?
Yeah,
using
there
just
is a
traditional
little
media
bit.
in general. Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, basically, when it comes to this article about the Atlantic, the losers and suckers. Okay, I doubt that was said. The reason I doubt that it was said is because Trump hasn't at this point, hasn't Donald Trump said plenty of things to offend people that we already know about?
Well, yeah, I mean, hell,
And
he decided
and he
to
hasn't
channel.
denied them.
He's decided to. Well, he leans into it most of the time. Quite
Sure.
frankly, if he says something disparaging, he's probably like, "Yep, that's me." Did I stutter?
So to make up something doesn't really fit the bill. The number one thing for me in this, when you're having unnamed sources, absolute hearsay.
I mean, you could get like a 7-figure book deal out about being one of the named sources here. Like, you fucking cowards, put your name to it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You could get a contributorship on MSNBC worth
absolutely
a minimum of $500,000 a year. Like, for the love of you have every incentive to be named here, unless of course it's absolutely false.
By the way, Dorf, bottom line here, it's the year 2020. No vid, no did. Okay, prove it.
Yeah.
Show me some proof.
You like picture?
Show me some proof.
Picture it didn't happen, eh?
Yeah. No. It's really. It's at this point. No. Show me some hard evidence, or shut up. Don't bother. It's worthless. Okay. Truth be told, even if he did say it, okay. I don't know.
I think, quite frankly,
really,
it's a psychological operation, a PSYOP, as we put in the title here, in an attempt to drive a wedge between Trump and one of his core constituencies, which is veterans. Republicans traditionally do better with veterans. They have forever. It's a way to suppress...
And actions speak louder than words, especially fake words.
Oh yeah,
especially
and
words
here's
that
the
nobody
thing.
heard.
That's all it is. It was a hit job to attempt to drive a wedge between Orange Man and a core constituency. They weren't actually trying to suppress veteran voter turnout, which is a reliable group that usually they will show up and vote for, generally speaking, pull the Republicans. They're trying to it's a Democrat try and suppress that voter constituency, and based on there's been some polling done on this, and even just anecdotal research, field research. Nobody cares because no one believes it, because his actions on the issues have spoke louder than words. And quite frankly, Donald Trump decided this week he wanted to go after the military-industrial complex too. Like, Jesus, man! Like, people get whacked for that usually. Hey, maybe we should ban ex-generals from being able to take positions on corporate boards of defense contractors. I like it, because quite frankly, like you look at
Isn't
like,
that a
even James,
form of fascism, though?
even James. Well, here's the thing. So James Mattis was the commandant of the Marine Corps, was in charge of large purchasing and spending decisions for the Marine Corps. Has ultimate veto authority outside of the president. Either a congressional appropriation of the president of the United States to guide purchasing decisions. makes some decisions, retires, and now by the time that contracts that he has direct decision making influence over are ultimately fulfilled, he's on the company that's filling it to reaping the profit. That's it's an absolute argument for paying the top end civil servants, or ones that have just spending decision making authority over $600 billion annually. You might want to pay him more than $150,000 a year.
Yeah, Dorf, it's a problem. It is a legitimate problem. I don't know that I'm sold on the idea that government needs to ban it, because I'm so over.
You could totally put a term in the. You don't even need to ban it. Like, you could just put a modifier in the procurement rules that say, hey, if you don't have any X person of this rank or greater on your board, unless of course they're the founder of the company, or founder, or founded the thing, or a partner in the business that that didn't start until after they retired, then you get a 25% point bump, or this is worth X percent in the procurement process.
Yeah, I mean, Dorf, I'm done with government always deciding what should we do. We have a problem. What should we do? Ban it or tax it? I don't know. Maybe we should tax it or ban it. Maybe we should tax it and ban it. I'm tired of that kind of government.
Okay, fair enough.
But with that being said, this is an issue, and here's the biggest issue: generals have existed for such a long time. I mean, the idea of a military general has existed for thousands and thousands of years, and even with that exact title, that exact idea, this process of ranking and this noble stature that comes with the position of general or admiral. But do you know what generals used to always do when they retire? Not work. For basically for all of human history.
Or if they did, like
retired, you either became the only spot up, the only move upwards from general was leader of that country. You either became the leader of that country, or you retired. You retired. You went and finally got to know your wife and kids, who you had met like 6 times in your life.
Yeah. Hey kid, I haven't been there since your birth. Nice to meet you, Dad. I'm 17.
Yeah. Or you died. That was those were the options. But now we have these guys retire, and it's just the career is just about to start. It's like, oh, cool, now to go make a quick $15 million. I knew a guy who, of course, will remain nameless, a West Point grad, who told me this. He was the biggest lover of the most patriotic man I ever knew. The biggest lover of the Army and West Point and everything was about. And he was the head of all these organizations of other West Point grads. But what was strange is that although he was the head of it, and although he was greatly respected by so many people, his rank that he achieved was a lot lower than most of those other guys, because he quit fairly early because he couldn't stand this. He couldn't stand the politics. Because you hit a certain point in the U.S. military, in the officer corps, and it stops being about the military. It's politics. And this guy hated politics.
Probably got out for he got in for the right reasons and the right ones.
He did. And he went and, earned a living somewhere else. And if that's what these guys want to do, if they want to earn a living outside of the military life, great. Do it before you become a powerful general whose influence moves much further than it should, to be perfectly honest.
Sure. All right, let's leave it at that and move on. Next, we've got a a brief clip here that I'm going to play for us. Next on our agenda is the Facebook story that we previewed earlier. I have a brief clip from Mark Zuckerberg as he talked to Axios. What he sees his role in the upcoming election cycle. So 1 second, I'll get that playing.
One of the things that I think we and other media need to start doing is preparing the American people that there's nothing illegitimate about this election taking additional days or even weeks to make sure that all the votes are counted. In fact, that might be important to make sure that this is a legitimate and fair election. So we're going to do a bunch of different messaging around that just to make sure that people know that that's normal. So if one of the candidates in any of the races claims victory before there's a consensus result, then we're going to add some informational context to that post directly, saying that there's no consensus result yet. I think that this is important because there is, unfortunately, I think, a heightened risk of civil unrest in the period, between voting and a result being called or after that. And I just think that we need to be doing everything that we can to reduce the chances of violence or civil unrest in the wake of this election.
If that were to happen, would Facebook be blamed in part?
Well, I can't speak to what other people would do, but I think we're trying to make sure that we do our part to make sure that that none of this is organized on Facebook. We want to make sure that none of that stuff is happening on our services. But the country is very charged right now. So I think regardless of what we do, there's some chance that this happens across the country. I just want to make sure that we do our part to not contribute to it. One of the things that I think we
So what I heard there is a guy he cares. He doesn't want to be the reason. Quite frankly, I'm gonna give him a little bit of credit here. He's a guy that cares about the country, and he doesn't want to be the reason it kills it off itself, or civil strife is started. He's just, his solution to that problem with his very, very, very large amount of political power that he has operating Facebook is entirely wrong. Right concern, terrible solution. The idea that it's our job in media or as Facebook to influence the populace to not get all rioty. I just don't think that's. I think that's. You could call that. I mean, legally, is it election interference? Is it a undue campaign contribution to the person election day? It does. You look at all the. There's a lot of projection that I've seen on the going around the internet here this week that Donald Trump will look like he wins in an absolute landslide on election day, but by the time all the mail-in ballots are counted, he'll lose. They'll just, the idea that Democratic operatives will dig up enough mail-in ballots to, get the result they want by the end of it. Because now there's precedent, specifically the primary election in New York State this year, a congressional seat, I believe. There's at least circuit court precedent that deadlines are dumb, and we can just count mail-in ballots that are just found at a later date because, reasons. So there's at least the appearance, if you're on the right here, that Donald Trump will have things stolen from him, or at the same time the party that's in power will, technically has the appearance of impropriety because they administer the election, even though it's technically run by a nonpartisan entity. Bullshit. That they could, too bad things aren't counted. We win. Too bad. So sad. And people might start shooting each other over that. I think it's nobody elected Mark Zuckerberg. You are not people's. You're not my dad. You're not my priest. You don't get this kind of influence, or you shouldn't have influence over people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to play God. Stop acting like it.
No, I mean, yeah, he would probably disagree. He thinks he's all those things. But Dorf, answer me this.
I'm honestly, I think out of all the major tech executives, I think Zuckerberg has at least the most pure heart in all of this. His just solutions are he's way more. I think way more of an honest actor than like Jack at Twitter. The Susan Wojcicki.
He's got the worst site though.
Runs YouTube.
I mean,
yeah, it's Boomer Book, man. We all know that, but.
Well, no, but aside from that, I mean,
he does have the best. He does have the best financially performing site out of the major social media companies.
Yeah.
Facebook actually makes money. Twitter
it
doesn't make money. YouTube hemorrhages money for Google. I mean, Google still is a parent company, makes money overall, but like, and then you have all the other ankle biters who are still in the stage that.
The censorship and bias on Facebook transcends all the other social media sites put together, though. I mean,
Twitter's
it really does.
Too, man. Twitter's pretty bad.
It's getting there, and they'll probably catch up. They'll probably catch up.
Honestly, I know we're not doing this live, but based on our next topic of discussion here, I bet you there's a pretty high chance this episode gets shit canned by YouTube.
Oh, it's possible. It's possible. Hey, Dorf, seriously though, let me ask you this: what kind of system? I mean, think of the technology that has come about, since then.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of system takes longer to figure out the results in 2020 than it did in 1950? I mean, are we supposed to see that and witness it? And not think there's fraud involved? I mean, look at the technology.
That is a damn great angle. That is a fantastic angle here. Voting in person by ballot is like the way that we've always done it. Just because there's it's not even unprecedented times. They didn't cancel elections or postpone elections for the Spanish flu in 1918, the pandemic in 57, or even the swine flu.
No.
Like, good point.
No, I mean, it was always, if you're scared to vote, don't vote. You don't have to vote. Nobody has to vote. If you're scared to vote, don't vote. But with that being said, I mean, the idea that, think of the technology they were counting votes with. I'm saying 1950 to be safe. I could be saying 1920 right now and go the full 100. I could make a very good argument for 1880, 1840. But I'm not even making those arguments. I'm not saying it. Not doing that because I don't need to. Because I can say 1950, 70 years ago. 70 years ago. 1950. No internet, no computers, no nothing. This is basically, aside from a little bit of technological nuance here and there, it's basically men and women counting ballots one at a time. And
they may have machine augmentation at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we knew the next morning. We knew in 48, we knew in 52, 56, 60, we knew in 1980, we knew, 2000. This is our first example of running into this problem. If you're married to someone and you find some evidence that maybe your significant other is cheating on you, You know, you see something on their phone, you find a note. I was trying not to make it gross. A used rubber falls out of their purse or out of their wallet. I don't know. You find some evidence.
How about the accidental text message not meant for you that comes to you?
Right. You know, you find something like that, and you confront your significant other, and they say, no, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. And you say, okay. And then a year later, happens again. And you go to your significant other once again and say, listen, this one's even worse. You know, I mean, it seemed like it was like that before, but I believed you when you told me that wasn't the case, and now it's happening again. And they say, no. That's not how it worked out. It just seemed that way. But, you know, here's proof that it's not like that. What is the most common scenario? What is the most common? What's the most likely thing that's going on right there? That you have bad luck, that the phones are not working, that your significant other carries weird things around in their purse or wallet. No, any logical person would say that the most likely thing that's happening there is that they're lying to you. You're being lied to. So when the government, who you know has the capability to do this right, and has many times in the past, and then they kind of get caught lying to you, but they said they weren't, so you believed them, and now it's just lie after lie. But they say, oh, but then this election's gonna happen, and you definitely just believe us, okay? Definitely just believe us. After however long it takes after you vote in November 2020, and we'll let you know how it works out, okay? I'm sorry, when someone proves to me that they're a liar, I don't believe them anymore.
They've ruined their credibility with you.
Right. I don't trust them. So I don't know. I mean, I see this from Zuckerberg. I see this from other places. It's strange, Dorf, because the vast majority of people in the United States of America will tell you that they don't trust their government. There's some people out there bright enough to say they don't trust it at all. They don't trust either side. But at the very least, the Republicans are going to tell you that you can't trust the Democrats. And the Democrats are going to tell you that you can't trust the Republicans. And since there's both in government, they're telling you that you can't trust the government. Why do you trust the election? I mean, really. I mean, find me a group of Democrats who will tell you that you could trust the Republicans with election results. That you will trust the Republicans to not cheat on the election if they have the opportunity. And then find me a group of Republicans that will tell me that we can trust the Democrats to not alter reality if they have the opportunity. I mean, the whole idea of the voting process was supposedly that we could trust the people counting it. So even if there's corruption in the Republicans or Democrats, it won't shine through because, hey, votes are right here, we counted them. But nowadays, I mean, they're done by computers. They're done by mail. They're done by... How can you even trust that? I mean, there was always an underlying idea in the past. In the election of, let's go, 1948. You know, Truman defeats Dewey, right? Yeah. Truman defeats Dewey in 1948. Or Eisenhower wins in 52. There's this idea that if someone really wants to check it, Now, it's not going to be me. But if someone really wants to check it, we could go back through and look at every single one of those pieces of paper, and we could recount it.
We could come up with exactly what we did the first time.
Right. We can recount this. We can do that. They're there. They're a matter of public record. We can go back and we can see every one of those ballots. But in a world where someplace in the country you tap a screen, no proof.
Here's how I vote.
Or you can just mail in a dozen ballots, or you just sending out mail-in ballots to the world.
In Georgia, so the primary election in Georgia, the Georgia Secretary announced today that there was about 1,000 people who voted twice. He's going to go after every single one of them for the Georgia AG is going to go after every single one of them for the felon that is.
Election fraud. Yeah.
Like the idea that this doesn't happen or never happens. Oh, it's just so insignificant. It never tip an election. Bullshit. It tipped one in 2018. A congressional race in North Carolina was tipped by voter fraud, committed by Republicans, by the way. There was also a entire election, a municipal election in Paterson, New Jersey, this year. That has been thrown out, and they have to do it over because of ballot stuffing or ballot box stuffing done by Democrats. Both sides do it. It happens.
Oh, what? George W. Bush supposedly beat Al Gore. Yeah, beat Al Gore by a little over 300 votes in Florida, and that's what decided the election in 2000. I mean, one solitary mailman could do that.
You look at the video, the CCTV footage coming out of California where a contracted mail carrier, so like somebody that carries mail between regional post office to regional post office or regional post office to like the local place where it's ultimately distributed, just fucking dumping bags of mail out the back of his truck in a California parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, there was a study done. I forget. It's somewhere, some East Coast state where they ran their own mock mail-in election. They sent out 100 ballots. They only got 97 of them, and they also got 3 birthday cards that didn't belong to them. So if we're gonna have a 3% failure rate, holy shit! How many states could a 3% failure rate potentially tip the balance? A lot.
No, I mean, Dorf, I know what I'm about to say is a meme, and it's not even what I was smart enough to create. But every once in a while, memes just are truth. They make a great point, and the question is obvious: would you take $1,000 cash, put it in an envelope, and mail it to yourself?
Fuck no.
Put it in an envelope, throw a stamp on it,
I might
and mail it to yourself.
I might use FedEx or UPS for that.
Maybe, but I mean, I wouldn't want to though. I wouldn't want to take that risk.
Hell, there's probably some obscure money laundering law that like I'd end up going to prison for doing that.
Maybe, but if you're not willing to do that, but you think mail-in voting is a great idea, you're a fool. You're a fool. Sorry. It's dumb. I mean, I hear all these people saying, be careful with your mail-in voting. You shouldn't put it in the post office or in your mailbox. You should take it directly to the
to be handled by the folks, the unionized folks that have endorsed Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. Or here's another one. Since you're getting out of your house anyway,
how about just vote?
Go to the poll and vote. Go to the poll and vote.
Hey, in Indiana, so in the
or don't. I actually don't care if you vote.
The county in Indiana I'm in, you actually vote on a computer, so it's a touchscreen.
Mm-hmm.
You vote on that, but at the end, it prints you a receipt of what you voted.
Adorable.
For. You get a receipt, and if something's not right, you have a chance to fix it before you leave, and you can take that receipt with you. And it also prints out and stores inside the machine a printed backup copy. They can be referenced and hand counted later, if necessary.
I
if
guess
it's
that's
audited.
cool.
That's.
I mean,
the way
I,
it's
I
done.
don't like computer involvement at all because computers are
Hey,
so
quite
easy
frankly,
to manipulate.
You're not wrong, but computers are a hell of a lot more accurate than human counts, though.
I guess. But I mean, when used properly, and I
True.
don't. But when I don't trust the people using them,
Hey, you know what? I'm doing my part this year. I have signed up to be a poll worker this year to make sure.
Oh, good for
shit will
you.
At least get done right.
You wear your mask.
I believe it would be required.
Boo, statist. I'll be honest.
Hey,
There's nothing.
I'll tell you what.
There's nothing.
I do my own little personal protest. I just wear one of those neck gaiters that has the filtration value of Swiss cheese. So
I told somebody the other day when they asked, like, why are you voting, man? You know that this is all BS. You know there's nothing to this. You know they could fix it. And I said, actually, honestly, this year, the main reason I'm voting is just to troll all the mask wearers in person.
oh yeah.
Just so I can show up, just sans mask with my face all like,
Hey,
I just smiling at everyone. Well, they're probably sticking their tongue out at me or frowning under their mask.
Or-
I just want to do that, and then I actually even considered going and just turning in an empty ballot. Yeah. just so I can go there.
Hey, this is the first
with
election
my
where
maskless face.
normies are going to pay attention to who they're voting for prosecutor.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Hey, I mean, we've talked about this on air before. The last election, I didn't vote for president because I didn't like anybody. I voted for the rest of it. I actually did not vote for my county prosecutor because I didn't feel like I knew enough about either, and I was unlikely to end as a victim of the justice system as a goody two shoes. So I didn't vote there either. I actually left the county prosecutor blank.
Right on.
Guess I'm going to be doing my homework because apparently well, I don't live in the same district as I did in 2018, but apparently the county prosecutor is quite the schmuck. So much so there's a retired the district judge is coming out of retirement to run against the guy because he thinks he's that shitty. But I probably should start doing my homework on the folks on the ballot in my current my current district here. So, anywho,
Probably.
I mean, I've got about 2 months.
Yeah, no, you got plenty of time. You kidding me? You need 2 hours tops.
Yeah.
But Dorf, I'm not telling people not to vote, but I just, and I'm not trying to sound. Where is that conspiracy theory? I'm actually wondering, where are the people just saying like, are we sure we can even trust this? Like, I mean,
Well, like
there's
Josh,
conspiracy theories saying
there's those people who've always been there. This is just the first time that sort of thinking is mainstreamed. There's always hell, we did the show on our old podcast, the Politics of the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Does voting even matter? We did that. We did that show.
Oh, I'll make those cases all the time. But even on that show, we weren't talking about does your vote count? Is your vote real? I mean, I can make the argument that voting doesn't matter. I can also make the argument that voting is straight up immoral. That using your vote to force someone else to do something is wrong. It's immoral. I'm voting with someone else's wealth. I'm voting with someone else's life. I'm voting with someone else's life. That's wrong. I actually do think that in a lot of ways, I hope that if we're actually moving in the right direction, that someday, 2,000 years from now, we'll all come to the realization that liberty is just and voting is immoral. But that's
Josh, are you gonna be are you jumping on the democracy bad? I want the philosopher king monarchy now.
she's jumping on it. I want to say I've been there for a couple of decades. I mean, this is kind of my that's kind of my forte, really, Dorf. I mean that's you know, I'm a Plato guy through and through, man. This is yes, I am there. I mean, with that being said, we don't get to choose the system we're born into. We're voting on things. I vote. I've never missed an election in my life. You know, I vote every election. I vote for the dumbest elections there are. You know, I mean, I've shown up to elections where you're voting for nothing but school board, you know, pick no more than 8 and there's only 4 people on the ballot. I'm always there. I
wrote myself in on one of those.
I write myself in a lot, actually. I write dumb things.
I wrote myself in. I think I was 20 or 22. Wrote myself in for school board in the community I grew up in and was still living in at the time. Yeah, it was one of those pick great. No more than 8. There was 5. I was like, I wonder. I mean, I don't have to take the job if I get elected, right? So, sure.
Right. No, and sometimes I'll leave them blank when they say things like, vote for no more than 2, and there's 2 on there. I think, you know what? Maybe there is a write-in candidate I'm not aware of.
And I'm not going to, I'm going to let them try and play spoiler.
And I'm not going to screw him or her by just simply coloring in a box for a person's name I don't know.
Good point.
No, I won't do that. I won't do that because I think that's wrong. And that's what I mean. I vote no on any tax bill, not just because I hate taxes, and I do hate taxes, but I vote no on it because I believe it's immoral to vote with someone else's wealth. You're not voting. If I see no problem with, what about this school millage? Okay, if you want that millage and you want to give your money, then that's okay. But I'm not just voting with my money, I'm voting with your money and everyone else's money too. So, but that's just a voting side thing. I don't mean to. Yeah, let's get back
too much. Let's get back on topic here. We're gonna go to our final topic of the night here. That being, turns out there's some countrywide data coming out of Panama, like I alluded to in the intro. It is not necessarily correlation. It's correlative data at this point. I'm going to put that up on the screen now so you can see it. I believe it's headquartered in Dearborn or Detroit. They showed that
my little sister works for it.
Oh, there you go. Hydroxychloroquine works as a treatment if administered early. So I get symptoms. My doctor writes me a hydroxychloroquine script. I take it, a 5-day regimen, large dose at the beginning, declining dosage as you go. It's effective if you do use it within symptom onset. Well, you look at all the critics and detractors who are largely only against the option because, Orange Man said it was a good idea.
Sure.
That may be a cynical take and that may be ascribing, vicious and insincere motives to those who don't actually have them. But at this point, failure, you may not know why it works, but the fact that it does and it doesn't do harm to people to use it in a short burst if they do have it. At least the worst case scenario is status quo maintained.
Mm-hmm.
People don't get worse. It doesn't help people when they're too far gone and they're going to die anyway. And that's fair. That's a fair criticism. It's not the magic bullet. But at the same time, if I were to come down with symptoms today, I would hope to God that I would be able to get a prescription with it in the next day or two. And I guess what? I'd probably be over it in under a week. That's at least what the data I have seen has shown. It's not the magic bullet. It's just that little bit of a boost that helps your immune system beat it itself. There's another, you look at the health statistics organizations that are struggling to figure out why Africa, with its poor medical infrastructure, hasn't gotten run over by this. Has it ever occurred to anybody that pretty much the entire continent's on a pretty regular dose of hydroxychloroquine for malaria? Interesting.
Weird.
Yeah, weird. It's not a definitive answer, and I understand that. I'm not a medical professional. I hope please don't take anything we've said and we'll say in this segment as medical advice. But if I get this and I'm symptomatic, I'm gonna be up and down to the best that you can in your tired, struggling to breathe, diminished state. That fuck you. Give me that damn pill that's been in use for 60 years, and we have long track records of its lack of consequences and positive health, positive outcomes in when it comes to treating viral infection. Because worst comes to worst, nothing's gonna change. Best case scenario, I'm over this. Hasn't happened yet. Go ahead.
You know what, Dorf? Do you know what hydroxychloroquine and COVID-19 have in common?
What's that?
Chances are neither one of them are going to hurt you. So maybe you shouldn't worry about it. I'm no doctor either, of course. Not pretending to be. But you're a healthy person. Chances are neither one of them are going to hurt you. You end up with COVID, it's bugging you. You want to try some hydroxychloroquine? It might help. I don't know. Also, you're a healthy person who isn't elderly. No pre-existing conditions. I don't know. Some chicken soup and some hot tea.
By the BMI chart,
nice warm bed.
By the BMI chart, I am technically obese. I'm not a small guy, but at the same time, I played offensive line at the college level.
You're a healthy guy, Dorf.
My blood pressure's fantastic. I take no prescription medication to maintain. I don't ever get sick. Like,
and you're like 7 years old or something too, right?
29.
Okay, that's the age that's the age people say when they're faking, when they don't want to tell you what their real age is.
Well, in this case, it just happens to be real.
no, and this is your age. I'm saying this shows how young you are. That you're fine, even if you weren't healthy. Your age alone, you are fine. Mm-hmm. You are fine. Really, you're fine. I'm fine, and I'm old, mm-hmm. but I'm not old. I'm not like.
Yeah, I
get the COVID. And,
my only issue is some squeaky joints and some muscle damage from being as a result of athletic activity. Like,
sure,
heart works great, lungs work great. Everything everything else works great, minus my my right shoulder sucks and my knees suck. But that's the cost of doing business and what I the life I have to live as a younger man. So, yeah,
I've been to the doctor since the Clinton administration, but I think I'm fine. I mean,
I am actually going in for a physical in about 3 weeks for the first time. I think 2017 was the last one. Before that, it was 2012. So,
right on,
yeah.
Right on. But, good for you. I hope I hope you don't catch Rona or anything while you're in there. I think you'll be fine.
I mean, apparently, the county I live in is in a Rona spike, which means we got like 10 people infected. I mean, the county I live in, it's okay. I live in South Bend, Indiana. We have roughly in St. Joe County, which contains South Bend, have about 350,000 people. We've had 4,000 total confirmed positive cases. 90 people-ish have died. and if not a single one of them was like under 75. Last I checked, it's been a few days, but and generally speaking, if you weren't in one specific nursing home, which they're not releasing the name of, that's like 50 of those deaths. I've worked the entire time. Since businesses were allowed to reopen in mid-May, I've gone out pretty much every other day, or let's say 4 days a week. I've been out in public, minimally. Wear a mask because I don't want to get in a fight. Because unfortunately, no matter if I win that fight, I lose that fight because I'm the big, angry-looking white dude. So, I haven't gotten it yet. Doesn't mean I won't, but hell, I've been on a plane since then. Been in two international airports. I've been to 4 states. Is what it is.
Impressive, man.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done all that. I'm just, living my normal life, though. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
fine.
mean, quite frankly, in a normal 6-month period, I'd probably do that anyway.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
anywho, all yours. Anything else you want to say?
Except for the mask part. Never worn a mask. Never will. But I get it. I'm not one of those guys that wants to criticize every person for doing it.
And like I said, Josh, at the very beginning of this, I don't want to call myself a prepper because I am far from a prepper, but prior to Rona being a thing, in common vernacular, I keep up with kind of global disease trends and just kind of the news on it, so I kind of stay aware. I knew Rona was a thing back in December, way before.
As evidenced by our old podcast network, the Empire Media. There's evidence of that, of you saying that.
Yeah.
Back then.
And quite frankly, the what little information we could get out of China, I was concerned. I kept a small stash of N95 masks in my house. This was before the run went on them. I had several dozen in the house. When things started going kind of sideways in February, when there was that big spike in Seattle, well, it's just a matter of time before it gets here. I loaded up to a 6-week supply of dry goods that I wouldn't have to cook to eat. I would have, if I was going to get locked in the house and all of a sudden there's a power failure or a water failure, we had enough food in the house to not have to leave the door for 6 weeks. I bulked up to that, and we're still we're carrying about 3.5 right now, and we probably will for the foreseeable future. I was prepared for this to happen. At the same time, when I saw it, I thought it was Ebola without you. The first videos you saw coming out of China in December and January was people are just walking down the street looking fine, falling over dead. Well, which we know was fake, right? Well, it's not even necessarily fake. It's just they weren't
fake or something else.
They weren't fine. People weren't fine.
Misinterpreted, misjudged. I don't know.
It was. I was concerned. We were ready to barricade the door and not come out. At this point, I'm not concerned about this anymore. For myself, there's still people in my life that I'm incredibly concerned about it for, because quite frankly, it would be the final nail in their coffin. They're old. They're not terribly healthy to begin with. They have all the pre-existing conditions that people don't do well with this. Their odds are still high, but not a gamble I want them to take. I hope that we've learned that the data on this and how deadly this is, and we've done more damage as a society and culture, not only just in real dollars, but in lack of faith in each other. the politicizing health even more than we did before with single payer insurance and bullshit. That we've done more damage, not that, and probably killed more people than we've saved. And I think an honest statistical analysis by actual data science, not the quite frankly, one thing I've learned in all this, the people that claim to be medical scientists or epidemiologists are really, really bad at data science, even though that should be a core competency of theirs. I think we've killed, there was an analysis I saw done of the overall CDC death totals in the United States. Out of the 180 or so thousand at the time that this study was, or this analysis was done, 120,000 of those 180, or so it was about 100,000 of those 180 were going to die in the next 12 months anyway. Rona just finished them off. We've 40,000 of those people are novel coronavirus deaths. So that this is the cause of their death. It's not the 6% number that you saw run around social media a week ago. About 40,000 people have died directly of the virus. And we killed another 40,000 people by locking down.
Dorf, I don't, I'm not a stat guy like you. I'm not. I appreciate stats, but I'm not a stat guy like you. I'm one more to maybe study culture or things like that. Mm-hmm. I know about half a dozen people that have had the Rona. I don't know anyone who's had more symptoms than, worse than a nasty cold or a nasty flu. But during this time, I do know 3 people who have attempted suicide. 1 was successful. I know about 4 who've lost their business. I know about 3 to
well, I mean, even
5.
this whole
Hang on, let me. I know about 3 to 5 couples who are
divorcing,
getting a divorce. And I know 20 or more kids, people under the age of 25 whose dreams are in question, who have been, who have lost something really important to you. And as every adult knows, when you're 27 years old and you miss out on a vacation, you can do it again when you're 29 or 31. When you're 16 and you miss out on something, you don't get it back. You don't get it back. That's you could do something similar later, but it's a very different experience.
It's not the same.
No, when you miss out on something when you're 9, you don't get it back ever. That's my experience. That's what I see. And quite frankly, statistics are awesome for what they do, but it's not where I'm at. It's not what hits me. That hits me because I don't see it. And this isn't me denying the virus at all. No, of course, I'm sure there's a coronavirus. COVID-19, it's a thing. It sucks. And for those of you who have it, yikes. I actually think myself that I had it in December. And
there's a chance that we the scientific and the drug research community mapped the genome of this incredibly quickly, like way faster than any sort of RNA virus before.
And by the way,
it's a pretty damn close carbon copy to something that killed a bunch of Chinese miners in 2012.
By the way, when I may or may not have had it in December of last year, I actually went to a wedding. So maybe I'm a huge jerk. Okay, I didn't know what a coronavirus or a COVID-19 was in December, but I very well may have had it and went to a wedding with like 400 people. I was getting over it. I was feeling crappy. It was a friend of mine who I'd known for over 30 years, and I thought, sometimes you gotta play hurt. I gotta show up to this wedding and and be there and show up to the church and just
Fair
be
enough.
there for them. And so I may be the jerk who spread it around, or maybe not. I don't know. Or maybe I was getting over the flu. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't go to the doctor. I felt like crap, but no, I didn't go to the doctor. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just admitting that. So I'm, so people can know exactly, where I'm coming from. But so I see how it's affected people, and it's not worth it. And truth be told, we wouldn't even know what the hell a COVID-19 was if the media wasn't shoving it down our throat. Most people wouldn't know what the hell it was.
If it wasn't an election year?
Maybe not. I don't know if the election directly ties into it or if that's just
swine flu was the year after Barack took off. It was within the first 12 months of Barack Obama taking office.
Yeah.
It wasn't politicized, and it probably is the direct result of more actual, like, the swine flu probably was the end of more people, the actual reason people died, not just the reason people were finished off, than coronavirus has been so far.
My little cousin at the time had the swine flu. Was terribly sick.
I got it. It was terrible.
I mean, and
I got it during finals week of my first semester at college.
Yeah, he was like 5-6 years old. It hit him hard. Find me the 5-6-year-old that got COVID and was hit that hard by it. You're not gonna.
Yeah, no, I got it.
They're not gonna.
It sucked. Oh God, it sucked.
Tuberculosis blew up last year. That's something to be scared of. Nobody cared because it's just things like that happen. But
Ebola's been scary for a while.
Yeah, you trust me. You don't want tuberculosis. That sucks.
Ebola either. I mean, you
do not want Ebola.
Ebola used to be like a 3 in 4 chance you were toast. Now it's a 1 in 4 chance you're toast.
Mm-hmm.
And, based on modern medicine techniques, and quite frankly, if you could be treated in a first world country by first world medical professionals, you got a pretty good shot at coming through it. It's still fucking scary because you bleed out of every orifice. But
gross. Yeah.
Well, anyway, to get back to where I was trying to interrupt you before, very good point, that the idea, the deaths of despair, which are now going to be, you look at so many predictive models of COVID-19. If we don't do draconian measures, 500 million people are going to die. No, well, you look at what, conservatives had said from the beginning, and largely people on the political right in the United States said from the beginning, is you can't forget about the amount of people that will die from an economic downturn. For each,
right.
it was something referenced in the I hate to call it documentary, but it was more of a infotainment special. The Big Short, you can find it. It's about the mortgage bubble that caused the Great Recession. For each, I think the stat is, if I'm remembering it correctly, is for each percentage point of increase in the unemployment rate in the United States, 40,000 people will die because of that per year.
Makes sense.
I have never been able to track down their source on that, but it about lines up. That especially affects working class men the worst. They are more likely to. They're not the most likely group to attempt suicide, but they're most likely to be the one to be successful. As we've seen in the ongoing kerfuffle now, this has hit the working class the most hard. Their jobs are most likely to be the ones that have been altered, affected, or entirely eliminated. Those folks
usually are.
That's not atypical in financial and periods of economic retraction. It's not uncommon. That's usually how it works, or how it has worked. By the time this is all said and done, you're going to take away more years of left to live, or more life years, from people than you ever would have saved by. I mean, quite frankly, you could have done nothing, or just done some sort of like, please, for the love of God, in public, wear a mask. But continue about your, wash your hands more often, wear a mask. Hand sanitizer's dumb. Just wash your hands. It works better anyway. Please try not to touch your face, wear a mask, and kept on going on. Hell, even if you did, hey, no highly attended sporting events or concerts, we're gonna try to avoid the indoor mass gatherings. And,
you don't have to have it legislated, though.
True.
You can just
say, please, to the love of God, do this. We would really, this is really.
Hey, the question I have, and this is especially important in a free society, is whatever happened to the public service announcement? Whatever happened to the PSA?
There you go.
You know, I mean, whatever happened to the, hey, listen, there's a virus out there. It could be dangerous. It affects X, Y, and Z more, but even A, B,
everybody
and C
can get it.
Careful.
Everybody can get it, though.
You know, I just please be mindful. Of course, we as the government here in a free country don't have the right to do crazy things like, I don't know, force you to shut down your business or force you to put a muzzle on your face. Or, force you to do X, Y, and Z. But please be mindful. I've actually, this thing I'm saying, this rant right now, is actually something I've been saying for a decade plus. With things like, whatever, hey, please, buckle up for safety. Wear your seatbelt. It's a good idea. Hey, you motorcycle riders, wear a helmet. It's really, you should, wear a helmet. It's good for you. But, of course, here in the free country, we can't make you wear your seatbelt. We can't make you wear a helmet. We can't make you do anything because you're a citizen. You're an individual.
I mean, there is one state in this union that has done that.
One.
Yep. South Dakota.
One.
Essentially said, be a fucking adult. This thing could be bad. Take appropriate precautions.
You know what, Dorf? They're not only are they the only one that did it, they're actually the only state that I know of that even considered the idea of personal liberty. That even considered the idea that maybe.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna give partial credit to Ron DeSantis in Florida. He initially was initially team lockdown, but quite frankly, it's early was like, well, the data doesn't bear out this is a wise decision. We're fucking done with this shit. Open it up.
That's not what I'm talking about, Dorf. That's not what I'm talking about.
Sure.
I don't want to hear about data. I don't want to hear about any of that. I want to hear an elected official. I want to hear one of these people sworn to defend and protect the Constitution. I want to hear one of them say, I want to shut this place down, but I don't have the right to do it. I don't have the power to do that. I would like you to all stay home. If it were up to me, I'd padlock all your doors shut. But
it ain't
it's
up
not
to
up to me. You're a free person. You're a citizen. So instead, I'm just asking you, hey, be careful out there, okay? Stay home if you want to stay home. Where was that politician?
Kristi Noem in South Dakota.
Yeah,
Governor Noem.
That's it. But she's an example of, and I love her. Yeah, I do. I love her, and I don't even care how she feels on most issues. I love her already for this.
Hey, she has gained prominence on a national stage. I guarantee she's running in 2024. You gonna vote for Christy Bay? She's fairly easy on the eyes too.
She's very attractive woman, very pretty. No, the thing is, Dorf, there's thousands and thousands of Republicans and Democrats in this world. I can't name a Democrat who I would vote for. There's maybe
you could convince me to vote for Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
It's a really, really short list.
Yeah, I cannot name someone other than Tulsi Gabbard, and even her would be tough. Would be tough for me because her Second Amendment views are maybe a deal breaker. But I could get there with Tulsi Gabbard perhaps, and there's maybe a half a dozen Republicans. And our girl from South Dakota, Rand Paul, I don't think Justin Amash is a Republican anymore.
Well, Justin Amash is about to be unemployed.
Yeah, no, he is, and that's fine. So that about sums it up. I can't support this anymore. I don't get the idea that the Democrats want to blame Donald Trump for all this, and the Republicans want to give Donald Trump a pass. Since when is a Republican is a president not responsible for what happens under their watch? And
federalism, my dude. He didn't lock down any. He hasn't locked down any state or economy. He's unfortunately he's the one that kind of empowered and put out front Anthony Fauci. But
did he protect my liberty?
No. By the way, so
I wasn't allowed to work.
Another brief aside. Anthony Fauci wrote a paper about COVID. The dude's borderline illiterate. That's probably an exaggeration, but like
unimpressive.
Dude, like maybe it's time to hang it up. I'm definitely not a PhD, MD, DO, anything of the sort. But I gotta throw together some buzzword jargon with give me an afternoon and I wrote something that sounded more intelligent than that.
Right. Yeah, people always want to talk about how like the liberal arts people are like dumb for going after those degrees that they can't make you a bunch of money. Well, for all you people swimming in the cash because you chose the right profession, grab a liberal arts person and make them write your papers every once in a while, will you?
Yeah. All right.
Because we can write papers at least. I don't know.
All right. Anything else, dude?
That's it, man. Just that. I feel like I could end every single show I do with this, but I feel like we touched on this week. Just because Republicans do something dumb doesn't make Democrats smart. And just because Democrats do something dumb doesn't make Republicans smart. Use your head. Be smarter than the person you're voting for.
And ultimately, getting back to the title of the show, both sides engage in psychological warfare or PSYOPS. Mm-hmm. We didn't even touch on like third party or foreign party influence using psychological warfare against you to influence what you do or don't do in your life or do and don't do in an election. God, that's another hell. We're already a half hour over our normal time slot.
You're right. No,
that's a whole nother show, which we will still do because that is plenty of big pot.
PSYOPs are everywhere. PSYOPs are everywhere. You will not receive any
social media. Social media just made it fucking easier. It's always been there. No, they just made it easier.
No. There is no truth in CNN or Fox News or Sports Ball or Hollywood or television or movies. Yeah.
Hollywood used to be the main outlet for PSYOPs, and there's a good YouTube video I would suggest people watch. The YouTuber is Razor Fist, except it's with instead of an O and Razor, it's 0. Hollywood was always red.
Yeah.
Take a listen to that, Josh. I think you'd like him. But if you haven't seen him already, Hollywood's its pretty much entire existence has been one big giant psyop. So, anywho. Let's wrap this fucker up. All right, thanks for joining us for episode 14 here of the Empire and Exile podcast. Join us next week, same time, same place, wherever you found us now. So for Josh, I'm Dorf. We'll see you all next time.